Hey guys, it's Nurse J, Nursing the Truth. I hope everyone's doing well today. So this is going to be my second video of today. And this is going to be very, very interesting, friends. So you better hold on tight because it's fixing to get real deep. And your mind is going to be blown away today. But as usual, Nurse J is always down in the nitty gritty, getting dirty with her hands and all that good stuff. Flipping through pages and writing notes. But that's okay. We are going to be talking about someone that I don't even know if you know about. And really, I didn't know about it until the other day. So, if you want to, get your handy dandy King James out or whatever you have because it's fixing to get real. So, let's talk about a guy named Archippus. And you're like, I've never heard of that name in my life. Well, neither have I until the other day. His name is spelled Archippus, and it's ancient Greek. And the meaning of that name is called Master of the Horse. Now, you can readily find this stuff on wikipedia.org, praise God. And this person was an early Christian believer mentioned briefly in the New Testament in the epistles of Philemon and Colossians, which they say was written by Paul. Okay, now, in Paul's letters to Philemon on Philemon 1 and 2, Archippus is named once alongside Philemon and Apphia as a host of the church and a fellow soldier. In Colossians 4:17, ascribed to Paul, take the church and is instructed to tell Archippus, take heed to the ministry which thou hast received in the Lord, that thou fulfill it. Now, according to the 4th century apostolic constitutions, Archippus was the first bishop of Laodicea and Phrygia, now part of Turkey. Another tradition states that he was one of the 72 disciples appointed by Jesus in Luke 10:1. What this is based on is pure conjecture. The Roman Catholic Church observes a feast day for St. Archippus on March the 20th. So, I've got my Bible, and I'm going to go to Luke 10. So, hope all is doing well today. Now, in Luke 10:1, it just says that, and after these things the Lord appointed other 70 also, and sent them 2 and 2 before his face, and to every city and place whither he himself would come. Okay, that's what 10:1 says. Okay. So you're like, why do you need to talk about Archippus? Well, it's very important. You see, Josephus and his family was none other than Archippus. You see, Archippus was a philosopher and was one of the many Stoic philosophers that was exiled. during the first century in the reign of Domitian. And all that. You see, Seneca and the Pisos didn't like how fast that the Judaism was spreading in the Roman Empire, and they were getting a lot of converts. And so they had to come up with something that was a little Jewish, but then you didn't have to go and do the things that they did, like no circumcision, no kosher diet, some of the days, feast days or whatever. So in the letters of Pliny the Younger, remember I told you that when Nero, he killed Piso's dad, Josephus' father per se, and he exiled Josephus and his sister and his mother, and he was gone. And so Nero exiled him. Nero put him in Syria to be the general. And really his name in the books were Cestus Gallus and Florus. And, all that good stuff. So when Nero passed and you had the four emperors, basically Maximus was Josephus, Antonius Maximus, or Antonius Primus, and he's the one that got Vespasian in to do the temple business, and basically he was co-ruling with him under the sheets. So he ruled with Vespasian and Titus. But then when Titus died, Josephus got booted out again. Domitian did not want the Judaism to take over. So he still wanted the Roman pantheons and everybody to do what they do. So it's funny because Pliny writes to Trajan, and he says, "When, sir, I was summoning jurors to attend Flavius Archippus." Isn't that funny how you have an Archippus in the Bible, praise God, and he was a fellow soldier? Josephus was a soldier, praise God, and he's a Flavian, and now he's a Flavius Archippus. And it says that on the grounds that he was a teacher of philosophy, and Domitian and Nero exiled the Stoic philosophers. And it said at this time some people declared that it was not a question of accusing him from acting as a juror, but of removing his name altogether from the register and sending him back to complete the sentence he had evaded for breaking out of prison. The joker broke out of prison. The sentence pronounced by the governor Velus Paulus, isn't that funny? Paulus, Paul, Apollo, Apollonius, was quoted, whereby Archippus had been condemned to the mines for forgery. Okay, so let's look at this. Forgery. That was against Roman law. Roman law, you could get in trouble for forgery. Forgery is making something up or doing deeds that are not legit or right or honest. Okay. So Domitian's letter to Tarentus Maximus says, at the petition of Flavius Archippus the philosopher, I have given instructions that up to 100,000 is to be spent on him buying a farm near his native town, Prussia. And also, the letter again to Lapis Maximus says that Archippus the philosopher is an honest man, quote, his character in accordance with his profession. But you got to understand that Josephus was related to Domitian. And you might be related to someone, but you might not like them. Don't you have some relatives you don't like? Don't you have some relatives you don't trust? Don't you have some relatives you don't want to be around? Same thing. So then Pliny writes to Trajan and says, Archippus has charged me by your prosperity and immortal name to forward a petition which he has placed in my hands. I thought it my duty to grant a request made in this way, provided that I inform Furia Prima, his accuser, of my intention. So Furia or Prima was a familiar ancestry in Italy. And this particular genealogy went way, way, way back in the early Roman Empire. And this familiar of this lady's family, I suppose, really had it out for the Flavian or this particular Josephus. And so you have now a situation where Nero and Domitian don't want the Stoic philosophers. Seneca and the Pisos were going around saying that the conquered was writing things for the conquerors. And they wanted to make sure that they did not, that Judaism did not spread. This Archippus, was up to no good. Josephus, as usual, was up to no good. And what was funny is I found today that if you go to academia.edu, the title of this article is called The Philosopher and the Emperor's Words, Trajan, Flavius Archippus, and Diochrysostom. All right, so it says here that, let me get to the part. This is what caught my eye. It says, in the Greek East, letters from Roman emperors are sometimes called blah, blah, blah in Greek. I can't read it. This paper aims to show that at least in one case, such a document could in fact work wonders. For in the example to be discussed here, the author says, an imperial letter succeeded in saving its recipient from the repercussions of a matter entirely unrelated to that epistle. The divine letters in exclamation marks themselves took precedence over the actual legal matter at issue. And it's also funny that Cassius Dio was also exiled at the same exact time that the Stoic philosophers were exiled, and this Archippus, because I believe that Dio is also another pen name of Josephus as well. So now you have a issue with him. Now, Pliny in his letters also talked to Trajan about, him helping them out, Josephus's family, his sister, he's going to get a lot of flack for, um, you know, being their attorney, and helping them out. But Plenty says that, oh my goodness, I'm surrounded by all these people, and I'm pretty much, I feel like at any moment a thunderbolt is going to strike me, per se. The letters of Plenty are very damning, per se, about Josephus under all of his different pen names. So now you have where Josephus has his hand and his family in, the mix. And Archippus and, exiles, fellow soldiers, and, it just goes on and on. So there is no Archippus outside of the Bible except for the Archippus that Pliny is defending. And he was exiled for forgery of divine letters. So how do you like that, friends? How do you like that? And it just makes me ill. It really does. And I thought I found something too that was interesting. I'm trying to find it for you guys. I'm a little tired today, but I'm trying to get all this information out. My brain has so much on it to get out. Let's see. I know I saw it about the Archippus. Just bear with me, guys. Scrolling down here. Well, I know I had it. Maybe this is it. I don't know. Let me see. Okay, so another thing that's pretty cool is Epictetus, 8055 to 135, was a Greek Roman philosopher, and he managed to overcome huge obstacles in developing from a crippled Roman slave to become one of the most popular sought-after philosophers of his time. He was one of the most influential teachers of the later years of the school of Stoicism and considered by some to be the greatest of the Stoics. Epictetus was born around 55 in Hierapolis, and he spent his youth in Rome as a slave to Epaphroditus. Hello, do you remember Epaphroditus? Epaphroditus was ascribed to Nero. Epaphroditus helped with Nero's death. Domitian killed Epaphroditus because he said he should have saved Nero. Also, Epaphroditus was Josephus's little scribe. Is this not ringing a bell? And then, like I said, Epaphroditus, even as a slave, he studied Stoic philosophy. And Gaius Musonius Rufus, before the latter's exiled by Nero for his ethical teachings. So Rufus was one of the other ones that got ousted. So He gained his freedom after his master was put to death by Nero's successor, Domitian, and began to teach philosophy in Rome. Around 93, however, Emperor Domitian banished all philosophers from Rome and ultimately from all of Italy. We're talking Josephus, we're talking Rufus, we're talking Epictetus, we're talking Seneca, all these. And Epictetus traveled to Nicopolis, and then he founded his own school there. And attracting many upper class Romans, his most famous, now hold on, his most famous was Flavius Arrianus, AD 86 to 160, who studied under him, a young man, and wrote famous discourses in the handbook. All right, so let's do this. Flavius Arrianus. It's all going to be in the Flavian dynasty. Okay. Okay. I wouldn't be surprised if this is one of Josephus's sons. Um, I'll have to do more research on that. He probably is one of his sons. Maybe Julius Piso was Flavius Arianus that was under Epictetus or Epictetus, however you want to say it. But anyway, isn't this interesting? Archippus, a New Testament Christian with Paul, a fellow soldier, really? Um, I didn't know Paul was a soldier. Oh, well, sure he is, because it was no other than Josephus, and Josephus is no other than Archippus. Archippus is no other than Josephus that Pliny was writing about, um, in his letters. He was a Stoic philosopher. He was booted out like all the other ones because they were all into writing and rhetorical papers and, philosophies and all of their intricate details and twisting everything around and starting their new gospel. And Paul says, you did not hear it except from me. It was my gospel. It was my gospel. It was my gospel. And I'm the one that brought to you that Christ suffered and died and hung on the cross and resurrected in 3 days. Is this not what Paul taught? Yes, it was. It was his gospel. It was Josephus's gospel. It was Archippus's gospel. It was the Flavian gospel. So, Hotep and Ashe, and we will see you next time, friends. Bank on it. Good day.